out there as we watch this this extraordinary Mercedes Popemobile coming through the crowd. Again, if you're in the middle of that last night, you'd have been very conscious of how do you get twice as many people as we had last night? And that's what we've got today here and out in Centennial Park.
Well, I think numbers have been building all the time. Even just from the very first opening mass, I mean, there were 150,000 people. The police had to turn people away. It was such a shame. I mean, it was such a tremendous start to World Youth Day, and then it's just grown and grown and grown since then.
I should say, for that great shot of Royal Randwick, the Pope is going on, I think, on what's called the Kensington track, the dirt track on the inside. But for racing fans, you realise that he's broken the rule. He's going the opposite way to the way the horses go in Sydney. They go that way in Melbourne, which is anti-clockwise. But nevertheless, we won't hold that against him. But there's some room there. Out in the middle, we've got three of our reporters for this week, Sarah Collins and Peter Swans and Patrick Langwell have been there. Can you hear us, guys?
Yes.
You can. All right. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, how are you today? It's very cold, understandably. We've been sleeping out and we've had a bit of a chilly night, understandably, so trying to get our hands warm and even our faces a little bit, I must say, but they're from all over and meeting up again.
Well, Sarah, you're our hero because we had wimps in here last night, including Patrick, who were promised to stay out there and sleep last night and didn't, and in here they're all wimps. And you've got a couple of wimps alongside you, but you did it. You were out there in the cold last night.
Yes, it was exceptionally cold last night and this morning, I must say, but one of those things where it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, so you're willing to lose a couple of fingers or toes, I must say. But
did you get any sleep at all?
About 2 hours. There was some fantastic concerts, and of course, you know, meeting some random new people. We had some French people sleeping next to us, so we're huddling up and trying to learn a little bit of French even, and just swapping some stories about the different events we'd been to during the week. So some of them had been to the Receive the Power Live concert on the Friday night, were telling us about that, and it was really just lovely to kind of hear some of their pilgrimages to Sydney even. So it was a great experience. Bit cold, as I said before, but nothing that wasn't worth the while.
All right, let's hear from your two friends.
Well, we've actually got Peter here, and he was here this morning.
And one policewoman was telling me that she was impressed at how bright the mood was, and even in fact that the pilgrims had managed to get a little bit of sleep. In fact, I was speaking to her at about 7 a.m. and there was still plenty of pilgrims in their sleeping bags, which is just a testament to the fact that it's impossible to get up young people in the morning anywhere in the world. There was one young fella I saw from East Timor, and he was telling me that he was sponsored out by Brisbaneites, and they'd forked out from their own pockets and got a group of East Timorese out, and he said to them that we've got nothing to repay them with, but only our prayers, and he hopes that God will reward them. So just really warm moments like that certainly took the chill out of the air for us. It was wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Peter. How about Patrick?
Well, Pat was actually here early this morning and he got to see the helicopter with the Pope actually go overhead. How was that, Pat?
That was amazing. Flew over the entire course here, and it was just amazing. I saw about 20 Dominican sisters just jump up on their chairs and start cheering and waving flags, and that pretty much was replicated all over the stadium. It was quite funny seeing the helicopter fly over and everyone get up. It's just such a vibrant atmosphere to real kick off the morning. So it's just going to get better as the Pope, travels through now on the Popemobile. So it's a good morning expected so far. Really good.
As you can see, it's a great start on the way to the Papal Mass, and back to you at the studio.
All right, thank you, Sarah. The holicopter and the boatercade. We've got this new language, the holicopter and boatercade. Or Pope on a boat was the other one I heard there. So where did you go, Hayden, this week? Where have you been to apart from this special, unique meeting?
Well, like so many of us, Ray, I've been to all events. Also yesterday, the dedication of the altar in St Mary's Cathedral, very special event for the Archdiocese of Sydney, gathered together there.
It looked beautiful. Apart from the event, it looked like it had all the ritual and all the glory of Europe, didn't it?
The full majesty of the church, but at the same time, all those young seminarians, Viva il Papa, as he entered the church, breaking ranks, running forward, up in their chairs, and atmosphere quite magical, unforgettable.
Richard, you said you both gentlemen know the Pope and know the background of the Pope, and so a humble man who's been forced into the most famous man in the world now, as the Pope is, he appears, looking last night, he appears to be growing into it. He appears to be more comfortable now than he was, say, in Cologne.
Sure, no, it's a big thing for him because he's a scholar and a gentleman, but certainly to take on this new role, and people are really taking to him. They're really warming to the Pope. I suppose professional bias. You know, I actually listened very hard to what he's saying, and there's so much he has here for Australia, for the whole world, really. I'm going to have to sit down and just read and reread the things, the homilies and the words that he's been addressing to us.
Yeah, and I know Hayden laughed at my line there about him sprinkling papal fairy dust around, but he appears to be, rather than wave the royal wave, as the Queen does and so on, even now, once he gets on stage there, he tends to tinkle the fingers as though he's playing the piano.
He does, and the gesture is entirely his own. His predecessor, of course, had a whole range of actors' gestures, but this guy has invented his own one. I think it's a combination of a greeting and a blessing, very personal to him.
And even last night, someone in our control room last night said that they teared up a bit when he decided to go across and thank personally the two MCs who were on stage. There's two young people on stage here last night, and he walked around the stage, not like a trooper, but he walked around the stage comfortable, I think, in the role, and obviously looking at 150 or 200,000 grandchildren, effectively, who turned up.
The surprise for me, Ray, has been the informality associated with this particular Pope. So close, people have been able to stand to it.
In fact, the informality there, Hayden, he just greeted some children there. He's also just a lovely shot there of the children coming out. I actually saw a baby last night with an American couple over here. I think a baby, a very newborn baby. They must have decided they were coming to World Youth Day before the pregnancy almost, so they've come anyway. And there in the middle of the tent was the youngest, I think, of the pilgrims, who was probably a few weeks old. But I think as well, Richard, the plan was to meet some disabled people as well.
Sure, yes, because the sick are the treasure of the church. You know, being so united to the cross of Christ in that way, and it's very appropriate that the vicar of Christ should come to share that suffering with them and to tell them that they really belong. You know, they're so important.
Now look at this Sunday in the park and Sunday Mass, and it's an extraordinary image. And this is just just here where we are. Of course, there are another couple of 100,000 outside, we understand.
Yes.
Just extraordinary, isn't it? Would you be nervous serving Mass this morning? There's only a billion people watching, Richard.